This is DJ Johnny at JDMFM, and today I'm continuing my history of the Quay area, which is in Warrington. This is actually my 5th video of the area. I've come all the way around the Mersey and ended up here now at this building behind me, which used to be British Aluminium. And that's the story I'm going to do about. But also, what was it before? And what is it now? Let's go and have a look and see what we can find out. So this is a fantastic shot from the air of the whole site where British Aluminium was. You can see the whole factory, but for the moment, the oldest part of the factory is around here, this building here, and that yard around there. This building is actually Warrington Spelter Works. What Spelter Works? Well, I'll tell you something, it's been not easy to find out what this is. I actually think it's a galvanised iron works. It's a place where they dip metal, iron, into zinc, and that puts a coating on the iron, and that makes it so it doesn't rust in the future. I suspect they got the zinc either from down the Mersey, which is right there, right next to us as you can see, or by train, and they brought it straight to the factory. They'd melt it and they'd dip the iron into it to protect it. This Spelter Works was actually owned by Rylands. Now Rylands is a big wire manufacturer, or was a big wire manufacturer in Warrington, and I think there's probably another video at another time on that. But meanwhile, that Spelter Works was the first part of the whole site, and was built around the 1870s, something like that. It was later taken over by Pearson and Knowles. Now Pearson and Knowles were a huge organisation, again part of the Rylands story afterwards. It was called Pearson and Knowles Coal and Iron Co Limited, and they were a huge iron factory, iron manufacturers in Warrington, because Warrington was renowned not just for the wire but also producing steel as well. Now Pearson and Knowles also had these two reservoirs. There's two reservoirs here, and you can always see those two reservoirs. They're like a triangular reservoirs from these shots. And those reservoirs were used for cooling purposes, either in the Spelter works or other works, or even for extra water when they needed an emergency supply for their other factories in the area. It was an emergency water supply for Pearson and Knowles. Blinking heck! So looking at the same aerial shot, you can see the old Spelter Works there. The next part of the site, which was occupied, because it was just a greenfield site up till this point, was this area here. This area here, there. Can you see that tower and that building and that area there? That belonged to a new company called St Helens Cable and Rubber Co Limited. St Helens in Warrington, what's going on? Why St Helens? I really don't know, I'm not sure. It's difficult to find out a lot of information about it, but what I would say is that it was right adjacent to the St Helens Canal and Railway Company, which I'll be talking about in another video, and also I think there was links with Pilkington's Glass, certainly the guy called W. Pilkington in the late 1800s signed a lease for this, and it looks to me like it could have been something to do with them. Nonetheless, there was certainly close links with St Helens in that respect. Anyway, this factory used to produce rubber products. Well, they used to produce tyres for cars, and also traction engines earlier on, and also inner tubes and other rubber things. Now, as time moved on, they decided to put rubber insulation on cables as well, because rubber was the new thing, and electricity was the whole new world, where they're powering up the whole nation, and therefore they put rubber around the wire to make electric cables. And there's a brilliant advert from St Helens Cable and Rubber, Warrington Works, for the manufacture of rubber tyres for traction engines. Jeepers creepers. So it is just amazing what the sort of things they used to make in those early days at Quay. They also had another company in Slough, and later on in 1923 they upped sticks and went down to Slough and left the whole site to British Aluminium. And this is the British Aluminium Company at Quay in Warrington, or Baco, the British Aluminium Company. That's what Baco stands for. The British Aluminium Company was set up in 1894, and at that time was probably one of the largest aluminium companies in the country, if not the world. Aluminium at that time was a relatively new material. It didn't used to corrode, it was lightweight and very, very strong. They used to bring the bauxite, which was the raw product for aluminium, across to Scotland, where they could make it very, very cheaply using hydroelectric power. The huge ingots of aluminium were produced up there and then distributed to factories across the whole country, including this one behind me at Quay in Warrington. This factory was opened in 1913. So when British Aluminium first opened, the first part of the factory was this part here, along with what used to belong to St Helens Cable and Rubber over there. Now the rolling mills here, which these are, were the first part of the process, and what they used to do is they used to get huge blocks of aluminium and squeeze it through rollers to compress it, to squeeze it into thin sheets of aluminium, which is used for a whole range of different products. And this is Baco foil. And the Baco comes from British Aluminium Co Limited, and that's what the Baco stands for. Actually, they didn't used to make Baco foil at Quay, but they did make it at British Aluminium. That is until it changed. There used to be a separate organisation of part of British Aluminium called Baco Foils Limited, but nonetheless it was made by British Aluminium. And here is another great view from the air, 1938, across the whole site. You can see the River Mersey there at the bottom, with crossfields in that direction, and we've come round the Mersey in our videos. The last part of the British Aluminium site to be built was that part there, called the extrusion press, or the extrusion press shop if you like. And that's where all the extrusion presses were, where they used to extrude aluminium to make all sorts of aluminium sections. And I'm just in the old British Aluminium buildings here. This used to be the extrusion press site in the building behind me. It's very, very noisy. You can hear the go-karts behind, because nowadays it's a go-kart track and it's a very, very popular place to come. But what I've come to show you is this. This says Hercules there, and here it says Trojan. What are they? Well, they are actually two extrusion presses which used to be in this building. There were two 2,000-ton extrusion presses which used to heat hot aluminium and squeeze it through a die through enormous pressure, which could make all sorts of products for industry and beyond. They used to make curtain rails, barrels, sections for caravans, a whole host of things. Even guards and rails and a whole host of different things, many different products. Anyway, they used to squeeze it out, literally the hot aluminium, like toothpaste, squeezing through a die. There was also another extrusion press on the other side of the building, which was called the Vulcan. That was 1,600 tons, slightly smaller, but did exactly the same thing. It squeezed hot aluminium through a hot die, just like toothpaste coming out. Amazing! And here is just a small example of the types of aluminium section that were extruded at British Aluminium at Quay. Whole range of different shapes and sizes. And these were used for buses, for trains, for automobiles, and even planes. Amazing! Sadly, in 1986, the whole Quay factory closed down for good, and that was it. It was changed forever. British Aluminium was no more at Quay. And since British Aluminium closed in 1986, the whole factory, the whole site has been taken over by lots of other companies in the background. They've used the old facilities and they're in there. Let's have a very quick wander and see what it's like. And I don't know what's happened to the driver of this Mini. Blinking heck. And where British Aluminium used to be, which is on this building inside here, over here, it's now a business here called Century Sim, which do virtual reality racing. And we've got Team Sport over there, which is go-kart racing inside a track, which I believe is one of the biggest in the country. Let's go and have a look inside and see what they're like. So we're inside this building here, which used to be the extrusion press for British Aluminium, and I'm with James, Baco James, thank you, who runs Century Sim. Now, James, would you tell us quickly about what it's all about here?
Okay, so Century Sim Racing is a virtual motorsport racing facility. So the idea is that we have a whole range of simulators. You and your friends can come down and go racing at Silverstone or Spa-Francorchamps or Le Mans or whatever car you like. They're all linked together. The racing is every bit as real as the real thing, but if you crash, you're not going to hurt yourself. You're not going to write off a priceless sports car.
Fantastic. So it's really virtual reality, isn't it?
Absolutely.
The whole thing is a virtual reality. It's a superb place to come and visit. Absolutely fantastic.
Brilliant.
Thanks ever so much, James. Much appreciated. And we've also been socially distancing during the coronavirus and the COVID. Thanks ever so much. That's brilliant. And this is Team Sport go-kart track. Whoa! Let's go and look inside. I believe it's the biggest track in the whole country. Amazing. This is what it's like inside British Aluminium, where it used to be. Really, really noisy place and go-karts everywhere. You can't believe that this used to be British Aluminium extrusion plant. Blinking heck. Can you believe how much it's changed? British Aluminium isn't British Aluminium anymore. It's a fantastic go-karting track and really, really popular for individuals to come along. Wow, amazing. So that's what happened in this part of Quay. You saw at the beginning where the Spelter works was in the late 1800s, and then it moved on to the St Helens cable and rubber works, and then it moved on to British Aluminium Baco, as in Baco foil. We've also now seen how the site has been exchanged and taken over by lots of little companies within the existing buildings, and you can see where we've had a look at the VR facility and also the go-karting. Amazing. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that little video. There's one more video to come on the Quay series, so watch this space. Meanwhile, this is DJ Johnny at JDM FM, and whatever you're doing, hope you have a fabulous time, and see you again very, very soon. Bye.